No, I don't worry. I tell you, I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
On February 21st, 1965, in New York City, Malcolm X was assassinated. While delivering a speech, a disturbance erupted and 3 men came forward, firing bullets. Malcolm X had taken 15 bullets and soon he was pronounced dead. But why was he assassinated? Is the reason what you are always told, or is the reality different? Given that Malcolm X was the man everyone, including the establishment, feared, it cannot be determined who was involved in his assassination and who was not. However, it can be discovered today by knowing what Malcolm X used to say his whole life and who was impacted by it. Therefore, in this video, let's know about some of the shocking things Malcolm X said that probably became the reason for his assassination and will change how you think about him. Let's get started.
The Black History Archives.
Malcolm X was fearless, and therefore, he did not shy away from saying the forbidden. But that hurt the deep state and the establishment who wanted things to be exactly how they were for decades. Yet, Malcolm X did not stop. The first thing he hated was racism, which he thought went beyond individual prejudice. He exposed it as a deliberate and institutionalized design inculcated in America's foundations. He argued that the wealth of the United States was built on the exploitation of enslaved black people and that the nation's capitalist system continued to thrive on the economic marginalization of African Americans. He famously said, "You don't stick a knife in a man's back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches and say you're making progress. The wound is still there."
What kind of freedom is that? What kind of social or political system is it when a black man has no voice in court, has nothing on his side other than what the white man chooses to give him? My brothers and sisters, we have to put a stop to this. And it will never be stopped until we stop it ourselves.
Yes, he really was outspoken. For Malcolm, the legacy of slavery was not a historical footnote, but an ongoing system of exploitation. He described white supremacy as more than an ideology, portraying it as a mechanism rooted in America's laws, policies, and institutions. His critique extended to the justice system, which he likened to wolves dealing with sheep, asserting that impartiality was impossible in a system designed to oppress black people.
We feel that the problem, number one, of the black man in America is beyond America's ability to solve. It's a human problem, not an American problem or a Negro problem. And as a human problem or a world problem, we feel that it should be taken out of the jurisdiction of the United States government and the United States courts and taken into the United Nations in the same manner that the problems of the black man in South Africa, Angola, and other parts of the world, and even the way they're trying to bring the problems of the Jews in Russia into the United Nations because of violation of human rights. We believe that our problem is one not a violation of civil rights, but a violation of human rights. Not only are we denied the right to be a citizen in the United States, we're denied the right to be a human being.
Yes, he was suggesting to take the black people issues to the United Nations because the United States of America was unable to solve those issues. It appears to be relevant today as well. What set Malcolm X apart was his refusal to dilute his rhetoric for the comfort of the establishment or white liberals. Unlike other civil rights leaders who sought reform within the existing system, Malcolm called for its outright dismantling. He rejected nonviolence as a universal strategy, arguing that self-defense was a fundamental right for oppressed people. His declaration that justice must be pursued by any means necessary became a rallying cry for black liberation, challenging the state's preference for a docile and controlled civil rights movement.
Say that Uncle Martin is my friend.
Uncle Martin is your friend, yet you would disagree with his approach to what he wants to accomplish.
Definitely. If his approach would bring about what the black man in America needs to completely eliminate the problem that we have, I would say well and good. But I very much doubt that anyone who adopts the approach that Martin Luther King has been teaching to our people in that country can point to any meaningful gains that has actually served to solve the problem.
Famously, he said, concerning nonviolence, it is criminal to teach a man not to defend himself when he is the constant victim of brutal attacks. Malcolm's solutions were revolutionary. He championed black economic independence, urging African Americans to build self-sufficient communities free from reliance on white-dominated systems. However, his ideas threatened the capitalist status quo, which relied on the exploitation of black labor and resources to maintain economic stability. Here's a reminder to please support us so we can make more videos for you by subscribing to our channel and giving the video a like. We want to build a strong community, and we need your support. Let's continue now. And when Malcolm X was tried to be pushed in a corner, he knew how to handle that as well.
Have sometimes, whether you have or not, and I think probably you have sometimes, it seemed to me, been preaching hate to meet hate.
I don't advocate any kind of hate.
But there's a lot of talk that sounds very much like it.
No, I think that the guilt complex of the American white man is so profound until when you begin to analyze the real condition of the black man in America, instead of the American white man eliminating the causes that create that condition, he tries to cover it up by accusing his accusers of teaching hate. But actually, they're just exposing him for being responsible for what exists.
Well, that's something of an argument, but I've heard speeches made by some of the people of your group. I think I've heard you make speeches. It seemed to me that you were advocating what I would have to describe, I think, as violence to meet the serious injuries that have been done your people, with which I totally agree.
I don't call that violence. I don't in any way encourage black people to go out and initiate acts of aggression indiscriminately against whites. But I do believe that the black man in the United States and any human being, anywhere, is well within his right to do whatever is necessary, by any means necessary, to protect his life and property, especially in a country where the federal government itself has proven that it is either unable or unwilling to protect the lives and property of those human beings.
For Malcolm, nonviolence encouraged passivity in the face of injustice, leaving black Americans vulnerable to violence from white supremacists, systemic oppression, and law enforcement. He saw self-defense as a natural response to the systemic brutality inflicted on black communities and a means of restoring dignity and agency. His frustration with the slow pace of progress was evident in his sharp words when he said, "If someone puts their hand on you, send them to the cemetery. That's a good religion. In fact, that's the old-time religion." He also said, "We are nonviolent with people who are nonviolent with us. But we are not nonviolent with anyone who is violent to us."
We are peaceful people. We are loving people. We love everybody who loves us. But we don't love anybody who doesn't love us. We're nonviolent with people who are nonviolent with us. But we are not nonviolent with anyone who is violent with us.
He also exposed how white people try to marginalize black people, revealing when black people become a danger to white people.
Why? Because the white man knows you're more dangerous sober than you are drunk. Yeah. You are more dangerous sober than you are drunk. He's not worrying about no dancing, singing, clowning Negro. He's worried about you when you stop dancing, when you stop singing, when you stop clowning and stop thinking. Then he gets worried. And you should keep him worried.
In no time, Malcolm X had become a loud voice who was uniting black people, educating them on how they can get what they want. And this posed an extraordinary threat to the American establishment because his ideas challenged not only systemic racism, but also the underlying economic and political systems that perpetuated it. He had the ability to inspire people both at home and abroad, linking the struggles of African Americans to global movements against colonialism and imperialism.
But you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox.
His critique of Western power, combined with his call for black liberation and self-determination, made him a unique and destabilizing figure. For the state, Malcolm represented the kind of revolutionary leader who could ignite widespread movements capable of dismantling the status quo. Therefore, to contain Malcolm X's growing influence, the U.S. government placed him under constant surveillance. Both the FBI and CIA labeled him a radical and a threat to national security, and his rise as a prominent figure ensured he became a top target of the FBI's counterintelligence program. Note that this program sought to neutralize individuals and organizations deemed a threat to social order.
So whatever kind of action program can be devised to get us the things that are ours by right, then I'm for that kind of action no matter what the action is. I don't think when a man is being criminally treated that some criminal has the right to tell that man what tactics to use to get the criminal off his back. When a criminal starts misusing me, I am going to use whatever necessary to get that criminal off my back. And the injustice that has been inflicted upon Negroes in this country by Uncle Sam is criminal. Don't blame a cracker in Georgia for your injustices. The government is responsible for the injustices. The government can bring these injustices to halt.
Malcolm's speeches, movements, and personal life were meticulously monitored through wiretaps and informants planted within his inner circle. The FBI also exploited tensions within the Nation of Islam, particularly his fallout with Elijah Muhammad, to isolate him and weaken his influence. And then, the unfortunate happened. Malcolm X was assassinated on February 21, 1965, at the Audubon Ballroom in Manhattan, where he was scheduled to address the Organization of Afro-American Unity. As he began speaking to a crowd of about 400 people, a disturbance broke out in the audience, creating chaos. In the commotion, 3 gunmen rushed the stage and opened fire, hitting Malcolm with 15 bullets, including fatal wounds to his chest. He was rushed to the hospital but was pronounced dead shortly afterward. 3 members of the NOI were arrested and convicted for Malcolm's murder. Thomas Hagen admitted to participating in the assassination, while Muhammad Abdul Aziz and Khalil Islam maintained their innocence. Decades later, in 2021, Aziz and Islam were exonerated after evidence emerged that they had been wrongfully convicted. The new findings revealed that key evidence had been withheld by law enforcement, further fueling suspicions that state actors were involved in orchestrating or enabling Malcolm's assassination. Later, Malcolm X's assassination raised serious questions about the role of government agencies. Both the FBI and NYPD had informants put within Malcolm's inner circle, yet no action was taken to protect him despite credible threats against his life. On the day of his assassination, security at the Audubon Ballroom was unusually lax, with police stationed far from the venue. Informants who were aware of potential threats also failed to intervene or provide warnings. These omissions have led many to argue that the state either allowed the assassination to occur or actively facilitated it. Today, Malcolm X's assassination fits into a broader pattern of state-sanctioned silencing of revolutionary leaders. By eliminating Malcolm, the establishment neutralized one of the most powerful voices advocating for black liberation and anti-imperialism. His death was not just the loss of an individual. It was a deliberate act to prevent the systemic change he fought for. By assassinating him, they wanted to silence his ideas. However, they cannot succeed if black people today start believing and following what Malcolm advocated for.
When black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, then the black man will think like a black man, and he will feel for other black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause black people to stick together. And then at that point, you'll have a situation where when you attack one black man, you are attacking all black men. And this type of black thinking will cause all black people to stick together. And this type of thinking also will bring an end to the brutality inflicted upon black people by white people.
What do you think? What type of black leader do black people need today? Malcolm X or Martin Luther King Jr.? Isn't it true that Malcolm X represented how black people should be, who fear nothing and know how to get their rights? In the comment section right below, share your thoughts on why there are no more black leaders like Malcolm X. Would you like us to make more videos? If yes, please support us by subscribing to the Black History Archives and clicking the bell icon. You can check out more videos on our channel too.